Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into why RO/DI water is the absolute ultimate solution for dodging hardware scaling and chaotic water chemistry. Whether you're running a complex water filtration setup or meticulously maintaining a delicate reef aquarium, picking the right water is kind of unglamorous, but it's an absolutely crucial first step.
So, I gotta ask, do you really know what's actually in your tap water? Seriously, it might look crystal clear, pouring right out of the faucet, but today we're gonna expose how tap water is basically a highly variable mystery soup. And this soup, it can secretly wreck your sensitive gear and just completely disrupt your aquariums over time. Section 1. The tap water problem. Unpredictability right from the faucet. Here's the core issue we're up against. Tap water composition just isn't static. It's constantly shifting based on external variables. We're talking about the season, your exact geographic location, and honestly, whatever specific treatment method your local municipality happens to be trying out that week. This inherent unpredictability, it inevitably leads to unwanted residues, hidden corrosion, and major performance problems in your systems. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding TDS, or total dissolved solids. This represents the total amount of dissolved minerals and trace ions just hanging out in your water source. Whether it's minerals or other dissolved compounds, knocking out these dissolved solids is literally the linchpin for achieving pure, safe water. It's the main enemy we're trying to defeat here. All right, Section 2. Meet RO/RDI water, the ultimate 1-2 filtration punch. So this filtration process is split into two distinct, highly effective phases. Step 1 is reverse osmosis, or RO. This is where the heavy lifting gets done. The system forcefully pushes water through a semi-permeable membrane to significantly slash those total dissolved solids we just talked about, but, it doesn't catch everything. Trace ions can still sneak through. And that is exactly where Step 2 comes in. Deionization, or DI, acts as your detail-oriented finisher. It uses a specialized resin to capture whatever residual trace ions manage to slip right past that RO membrane. This 1-2 approach gives you water that is effectively polished. Because the RO removes the bulk of the solids, and then that DI resin snags the trace ions, you're left with water that has extremely low conductivity. And that's exactly why RO/DI is the go-to choice for enthusiasts and professionals alike when absolute water purity matters way more than just sheer convenience. Moving on to Section 3, saving your gear, preventing crusty heaters and clogged pumps. Let's look at the real-world stakes here, because they're pretty high. When you use untreated tap water, minerals like calcium and magnesium absolutely love to accumulate as this hard, crusty scale on your heaters, your pumps, tubing, basically everywhere. Over time, that scale drastically chokes your system's efficiency, it drives up your energy use, and it forces you into much more frequent, honestly frustrating cleaning sessions. Starting off with the much lower dissolved mineral content of RO/DI water helps stop these deposit problems before they even start. It is a total game changer for any system that heats or evaporates water. Section 4. Perfecting aquarium chemistry. Let's talk about why consistency matters. The contrast between your options here is pretty stark. With tap water, you're basically desperately trying to compensate for a mystery soup of unknown incoming composition, and that inevitably translates into inconsistent outcomes and dreaded chemistry drift. But RO/DI water, it provides a perfectly predictable baseline. It acts like a completely clean slate, letting you precisely target your desired water parameters by adding in only the carefully measured additives that you actually want. Establishing this consistent starting point is huge because it dramatically reduces your risks. It prevents unexpected chemical reactions, wild concentration swings, and those totally frustrating off results that are usually caused by the fluctuating mineral levels found in tap water. You basically take back complete control of your chemistry. Which brings us to Section 5, why not distilled? Let's weigh the alternatives. Now, you might be wondering, what about distilled? It's true, distilled water is highly purified. However, it can be incredibly slow to produce, and the way you store and handle it can actually introduce new impurities if you aren't managing it perfectly. When you compare that to RO/DI water, well, as long as your system is maintained properly, RO/DI is just a much more scalable, practical solution for your ongoing day-to-day volume needs. Notice I just said, when maintained properly. That leads us right into Section 6, maintaining the magic and keeping your system running efficiently. Okay. Let's dispel a myth right now. RO/DI is absolutely not a set and forget kind of deal. If you ignore it, that magical deionization stage just turns into an expensive paperweight. Its performance relies entirely on the capacity of its resin. Once that resin gets completely exhausted and saturated, it's just going to let your total dissolved solids rise right back up. So preventing that from happening requires just a few straightforward steps. First, you got to actively manage your system by monitoring the output using a TDS meter. The very moment those readings start to tick upward, yep, it is time to replace those exhausted DI resin cartridges. And, of course, ensure you're keeping up with proper prefiltration and membrane upkeep. Following these simple steps ensures the whole shebang continues delivering that pure, polished water you really expect and need. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If your results and your success depend on clean water, why on earth would you start with a mystery? Whether you're trying to protect your equipment from scaling, mixing up sensitive chemicals, or keeping a delicate aquarium thriving, choosing RO/DI water is simply the most practical way to squash equipment and chemistry problems before they even start. By eliminating dissolved minerals and residual ions, you are taking control. Think about it. What could a clean slate do for your setup?